Okay, for those of you who don't know, I used to be like a huge theater nerd. I used to do shows, I used to do like musicals and plays, and I actually studied theater for 1 semester here at SUNY Oneonta. So I was a huge fan of West Side Story. In fact, I sang the song Maria. That got me into Conference All-State, which is like the biggest singing thing you can do in high school. And so I'm very familiar with the show. I'm very familiar with like how it is and what it is, and so I'm really excited to talk about it because I've been waiting for this reboot, I guess, remake for a while. And I'm a huge fan of Steven Spielberg, of course. We're in the middle of a Steven Spielberg series, so I thought it'd be really cool to check it out. It did take me a little bit longer than I thought it would to get here to watch it. But yeah, here it is, Saturday. I watched it last night. I'm very tired, but it's okay because I have my Monster Energy, zero sugar. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about West Side Story. West Side Story was released in 2021. It was written by Tony Kushner and directed, of course, by Steven Spielberg. If you don't know what this movie's about, I'll tell you what it is without spoilers. It is Romeo and Juliet, almost to the T. There are a couple of differences, particularly in the ending, that change it up, but it is essentially just Romeo and Juliet, which isn't a problem at all because it's better than Romeo and Juliet in my opinion. I think it's a lot more interesting, it's a lot more relatable, but it is still Romeo and Juliet. The whole movie is just Romeo and Juliet. So we start off, we have the main issue is that we have Puerto Ricans in New York, and New York is mad because the Puerto Ricans are there, and the Puerto Ricans are mad because they believe they belong in America, which they do. So it's really about this whole rift between the Jets and the Sharks being the Puerto Rican gang, and the Jets being the New York-based gang. And they're getting into fights, and they're basically just fighting over territory. They're saying, this block of New York is mine, this block of New York is mine, you can't stay here, you can't stay here, that kind of thing. But really what the story revolves around is Tony and Maria. And these two meet each other at a dance, and Maria is Puerto Rican, and Tony is just a regular white guy. And they meet, and they fall in love immediately in the typical Romeo and Juliet love-at-first-sight fashion. And honestly, it's really beautiful, and a lot of things don't work for me in terms of, like, love at first sight stories. While I do believe it's probably true that it could happen, it hasn't happened to me yet, so, but I do think, like, the way that this works, like, this movie itself, works very well to aid in the fact that, like, we really get to know them really quickly. Because we get to know them individually first, for quite a long time, actually. They don't meet until, like, half an hour into the film or something like that. And so it really does, like, give you time to get to know the characters and the situation, which I really appreciate. The singing in this film is off the charts. It's fantastic. Ansel Elgort does a fantastic job. Rachel Zegler does a really good job singing, and like those are the main like singers in my opinion in the whole movie. Although Mike Face did a very good job with his singing portrayals as well. So I really liked the singing a whole lot. But what I think was even better was the dancing. Holy crap! I have not seen a movie like commit to good dancing like this in a while. In the Heights was pretty close. I think that was really close in terms of like how good it was with the dancing and being true to how long the movie actually is. But this one takes it to a whole new level. Honestly, it does. The dancing is amazing. I was sitting here, I was sitting with my friend Eric, and I was like, whoa, like half of the movie is just like super awesome choreography. And the fight choreography is like probably done by similar people that probably work on it together, because a lot of the fight is just dancing. And the dancing and the fight together is just so cool and awesome to watch. And it was definitely a step up from the original movie. I should mention this is based off of a musical and a book and an old movie from, I think it was 60s, maybe 70s. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there's a crazy dancing and fighting is awesome. Let's talk about some of the performances here because they're absolutely stunning. Ansel Elgort is Tony. We're not going to talk about him as a person. I don't care. His acting here is really solid. I don't think he was the best performance in the film, though, by far, actually. But, of course, he just did what he always does, which is walk in and does that, like, weird, like, disassociated smile he does. And then that's pretty much it. And then he sings about Maria. And then he, like, walks around, and then he falls in love. Then he gets to this really cool action star for, like, the third act, which I thought was really cool. Another thing I should mention before we get too deep into this is that the movie is technically 5 acts. It feels, at first, like it's going to be 3 acts, but then the movie doesn't end after the third act. That's because the third act is, like, kind of this weird climax, then it goes down and then goes back up again, in typical Shakespearean fashion. But, I don't know. Honestly, that didn't really work for me a whole lot. I didn't like the 5-act feel because I can feel the tension in the entire theater after this big thing happened in the middle of the movie, and we're all just like, the movie's gonna end soon because this huge thing just happened. And I'm like, no, we're not even close, bud. We are halfway through now. So be prepared to not know when the film is going to end, because it just ends. And it ends like an hour later than you thought it would. But it didn't bother me a whole lot, so much as I know it's going to bother others. But it still did bother me a little bit because it felt frustrating to just like be there and be like, okay, a big portion of the story is done, but we still have a whole hour left of the film. And honestly, the last hour is really good, but it isn't entirely necessary. They could have cut a song or two from the end, honestly. There's this whole sequence, the I Feel Pretty sequence was really cool, but honestly, I think not needed. It was fun, I'm sure, for Spielberg to have fun with that, and of course, for Zegler to have a whole lot of fun with that, but I honestly didn't care. And it felt like a distraction from the main story, so maybe they could have cut that, but then everyone would have been mad and whatever. We're not going to get into that. But still, anyway, Rachel Zegler as Maria was stunning. Holy crap, she's brilliant in this role, and she's never been in a film before. She needs to be in more movies. Give her more roles, please. She was absolutely brilliant, and like not even just like acting, but singing and dancing, and like just she is Maria. Like literally, she is Maria. She was born to play Maria. Brilliant. Loved it a lot. I want to mention Ariana DeBose, who plays Anita, who I think gave the best performance in the movie, honestly. She plays like basically the stepsister to Maria. She's like with Bernardo, who is the brother to Maria, who does not like the Jets, basically, is where it's at. But I think she was absolutely brilliant. Every time she was on screen, I was just mesmerized by her performance, and her dancing is incredible. She has this one scene where she's like in this yellow dress, and she's like throwing herself around, and I'm like, whoa! Like, honestly, it was beautiful work. And of course, Mike Faist as Riff. I like Mike Faist a lot. He was in Dear Evan Hansen, and he actually was in Newsies for a little spot. And I like that. I had fun watching him. He was really solid. I think he might actually get a couple more roles after this because he was very good. There are a couple cameos, basically. Like Ben Cook was in it. He plays Mouthpiece, and he's only in the movie for like 5 minutes, but I like him because he was in Newsies, and I loved him in Newsies, and it's fun to watch him here. Brian Darcy James, Corey Stoll, they show up for like a couple scenes, and like I was like, hey, I know you. It's pretty cool. But for the most part, like those are the main actors. I really liked them a whole lot. I didn't mention Bernardo. I didn't write down who played him. He was very good, but I don't think he was as good as everyone else, in my opinion. I really don't. I think he was just fine. Let's talk about a big chunk of this, which is Spielberg himself. Yes, he was fantastic. It does definitely feel a little bit reminiscent of the times when he used to do this a lot. He used to pull these old movies out of his butt, and he'd be like, all right, you want a movie about the 50s? Here you go. And like, I like that. He's very good at period films, and that's what this thing is at heart. It is a period film. It is about the racial, like, issues between the Puerto Ricans and the New Yorkers, and like I thought it was really cool how he's able to use that in a musical fashion. Do I think he'll ever do a musical again? I really don't. I don't think he will. I think he could tackle Newsies if he wanted to, and probably be pretty good. We need a good film adaptation of Newsies because the Christian Bale one is not. But I did overall really enjoy his adaptation of this musical. That was very solid, very true to the source materials, which I really appreciated. Now again, there are only a couple minor issues, but I'm gonna go ahead and give West Side Story an A. Have you guys seen West Side Story? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about it. You can check it out in theaters near you. I will say this is probably my favorite movie musical of this year. I think Tick, Tick, Boom was probably a little bit more imaginative and a little bit more creative. But still not as good as this, so it's hard to balance the two, but I do think it's probably a little bit better than Tick, Tick, Boom, but we will see when I compile them all into a list. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Stick around to December 31st, 1 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, doing a live stream you're not going to miss. It's my 200 subscriber special, so subscribe and show up there. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. I'm going to be air frying a bunch of random stuff. I'm going to be experimenting with a few things and be playing video games. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, so definitely do not miss that. And as always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.